Hello and welcome back to Reactivity TV Love is Blind Edition. I'm Amy Albero and I'm a licensed therapist.
I am Chris. I'm not a therapist, but I am somebody who is here to tell you the truth of what I watched. And I feel like there's not enough of that going on. I feel like there's just too many people that are just, sticking to the script, not just on the show as contestants and cast members, but also as recappers. And I'm here to tell you that, you know what? We gotta start talking and telling some truth about this show.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely curious to hear what you mean by that. Chris and I did not watch this episode together, so I don't really know his thoughts or his take. But we are going to get into all of that and more, I'm sure, while we talk about episodes 10, 11, and 12 of Love is Blind, season 8. And before we get into all of that, please be sure to hit that like button at the bottom of this video and subscribe. It's just a little thing that you can do that actually means so much to us, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yes, and please also hit that bell icon so that you're alerted anytime we post new content to the channel.
All right. So where do you want to start?
All right, let's just get some opening thoughts out of the way. This was a tough watch. I don't really understand why they chose to extend this particular season to this many episodes. I'm not really sure why they are choosing to drop it on us 3 episodes at a time. The truth of the matter is that there's not a lot actually happening that's exciting and interesting. There's some of the couples are kind of set. Some of them are a little bit less stable at this point, but nothing is really that unexpected. And there's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot of messiness. It's just a season right now where you turn it on and you're just kind of watching the the seconds tick by.
Mm-hmm,
and it's just like, there's another 2 hours tonight that we have to get through. And it's like, but nothing is happening. And the narratives that we're getting, it's the David, Lauren have not, it's the same stuff we've talked about.
Mm-hmm,
Ben and Sarah, it's the same stuff we've talked about. The most interesting people in these 3 episodes were actually Devin and Virginia. But the problem is that they are just so mellow and kind of drama-free that the fact that they actually were, from a couples analysis perspective, the most interesting and fascinating ones. The truth is that I think it's going to be a snooze fest if we were to sit there and actually dissect all that, because there's just no messiness to it. And the other thing was, they didn't have the content to really extend it to this many episodes because every scene lingered on forever. When Devin and Virginia were laying in bed together, it felt like that scene was 40 minutes long. And if you look,
really
it was like 12 minutes of them just in bed having a conversation. Here's the truth. When you have hundreds of hours of film and you need to take 15 minutes of that out and make an interesting storyline or narrative to put on TV, you can do that. But the truth is that most people, no offense, all of us, are actually not that interesting in our day-to-day lives. And we probably only actually have 15 minutes out of a given week where things actually get interesting enough that people want to watch. And you're now asking this cast to produce more than that, given the number of episodes that they're trying to put out, and there just isn't the content. And that's a harsh reality. I'm not saying that it's a bad show per se for all of that. I'm just saying I think production bit off more than it can chew with the number of episodes that they're trying to produce here.
Yeah, I agree. I found myself watching these episodes and thinking, like, I owe you, Chris, an apology for suggesting that we watch this, because it's not as entertaining as seasons of Love is Blind have been in the past. And I think the reality is, and it's so clear, particularly watching this set of episodes, that everyone is so aware of the edit and they're so aware of the discourse that is happening or will happen post filming. And that, I think, is what's robbing us from having authentic and interesting interactions and dynamics to talk about. And this is something that I referenced last week. It's really hard to give my therapist take on things that are going on because none of it really seems that real or authentic. And so I think that also adds to the lack of drama, is just the hyper awareness of what the Redditors are going to say, or the, podcasts like us might say, well, not like us, but podcasts that are more popular than us might say. But that seems to be very, very clear. And you could catch them hearing themselves talk and be very aware of, ooh, how's this going to land and how's this going to sound? And that's just not fun TV to watch. People
Yeah.
editing themselves.
Yeah, and that rolls us right into the person who is telling the biggest lies on the show, Dave and Lauren. I mean,
yes.
Look, this is the couple that everybody wants to talk about. This is the couple that is all over, TikTok and Reddit and YouTube. Here's the thing, people. It's not interesting, actually. Like I'm kind of tired of everybody wanting to talk about this couple. It's like a 3-sentence synopsis. One, he is out. He doesn't want to be with her. Two, he's lying about why. Three, Lauren is not aware enough of how the male mind works, or of what Dave is actually saying to her. And so she is fighting the wrong battle.
Well, she also has low enough self-esteem to remain in this repetitive conversation where he sex shames her and forbids his family from meeting her because she's such a slut. Like it's
well, but no,
wild.
See, that's the thing, is that is the narrative that they're trying to push, but that's not actually what's
we don't
happening.
need to rehash it. I know we went through it last episode of ours. I get it. What I'm saying is that's how she is hearing it.
Sure.
And even the way that he is withholding his family at this point, Lauren, run, And so I think that was also pretty frustrating to watch. But the thing that I find so fascinating about Dave is that he is, in his mind, trying to manipulate with the idea that Lauren will get the villain edit, will get the edit of she had a boyfriend before she came on the show. And that's like the most satisfying to watch, is that he's getting the quote unquote villain edit here. Like he looks bad. And so all of this kind of blew up in his face.
There are markers here that tell you that this guy is not interested in you and he wants out. The fact that I've said it before, the fact that he hasn't introduced you to anybody is a problem. Guys don't care about that the way women care about it. We'll bring people around all the time. It's like our friends we don't offer opinions like that about our significant others. The fact that he hasn't even met her family until this episode, he's basically avoided that. The going out all night and then not showing up until like 2 p.m. the next day, and my phone died. I mean, hello, this is not behavior of somebody who cares about the other person.
I maintain that the only reason he even met her parents was because, if you caught it, when they were debriefing after his night out till however late, 3 a.m., she had said, I was with my parents, and he got scared, like, oh, you were with your parents, like they saw you upset, like, and it felt like he needed to, and then, as to use Lauren's word, workshop a way to, again, make it get his out in the most glowing way possible. But again, he failed. He's just not very good at this. There's not much to talk about, there really isn't. They end up breaking up. He really tries once again to get her to break up with him, and she does. And so it's successful in that sense, but how long does he need to drag this out before she actually says, like, okay, I can't do this anymore? And so he's successful, and we hear him later say, like, I really didn't want it to be my choice. And that is very clear, that while it was your choice, you didn't want to, again, be the bad guy and be the one to end it. You were a coward in this instance.
Yeah, this goes back to what I say all the time. Men do not want to be the ones to break up with a woman. Everybody knows that when a man and a woman break up, the woman's story is going to get out there. The man's story is not really going to get out there. And the man is always going to be the villain. It doesn't really matter what the truth is. That's just kind of the way it happens because of the nature of communication and how men and women communicate about different things. The one who talks about things is the one who's going to get a narrative out there. The one who doesn't talk about things is going to have a much harder time getting their narrative out there. And as a result, men have learned that the one of the only ways to sort of maybe get around the villain edit is to have the girl break up, with herself effectively, kind of convince her that, that it was her idea to actually break up. And then, she feels empowered. And so maybe, he doesn't get quite as bad a villain edit. this is what guys do. It's lazy, it's cowardly, but it is what guys do. And I mean, I get why men do it. I certainly did it when I was, younger and less mature. So the fact that he's attempting to employ
Mhm.
this, though, on national TV with editors and producers that are not naturally going to be his friend, as we can see from I mean, this is a show that has a massive agenda that is hard to miss, right? This is not going to work, Dave. Like, you have to be a level of arrogant to think that this is going to work that exceeds the
Yeah.
average.
Well, he was not smart enough to pull off this con. And
Mhm.
again, we see it in their dialogue. He's going on and on about my family and my friends and my sister, my sister, my sister. And then he catches himself saying, like, oh shit, I'm going to make my sister look bad
Well,
if I
imagine
continue.
if you're his sister, you just made her look like a lunatic control freak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like if you were to meet his sister, would you have a positive impression? Like
Right.
let's just, I'm
It,
not even
it was,
convinced he has a sister, but that's a different story. This might just literally just be another lie for him to use. But let's assume for a second that he does have a sister. Like, would
she
you?
forbid me to go on this show.
Yeah, he also makes himself look really weak because it's like,
Yeah.
so your sister is telling you what to do. He's like, well, she
Right.
doesn't
You're a
tell me
grown
what to do.
man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the whole thing. So on the topic of the sister, I do want to talk about the letter. She wrote a letter and he doesn't give it to the sister, which automatically, if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she actually thought that this was maybe a tactic to get the sister to like her just tells you how far down the rabbit hole she is and just how bad her self-esteem is and how just unaware of what's actually going on it is. It really makes Lauren look bad. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, she looks compassionate. She's really trying and blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. No, that's not what it's actually telling you. What it's telling you is that she's absolutely clueless and has absolutely no backbone, and she'd be willing to settle with a guy who treats her like absolute garbage. Like, there's no compliment in here, really, right? Being overly empathetic is not a compliment, right? Being a
Yeah.
pushover and saying and having basically abuse me tattooed on your forehead, like, like it's not a compliment when we get to that level, and that's where she is.
Sure. Well, and the thing is, I'm so glad you brought that up because I do think that there is a way, right, to find compassion and of course empathy for Lauren in she cares about this guy. She's trying to everything that she can to get get in front of the sister in any way that Dave will allow her to. And it's not a phone call, it's not a FaceTime, it's not a face-to-face meeting. So let me try this thing. And I imagine for her, she just wanted to make sure she did everything that she could. But again, it's a bridge too far. If you have to go to those lengths, then you need to run. But the thing you were saying about empathy, this is empathy is such a double-edged sword, and I don't doubt that Lauren has a deep well of empathy. But the problem with empathy is that without any boundaries, it becomes self destructive. When you continue to put other people's feelings and anticipate their feelings and their needs over and over and over, and especially above your own, you end up hurt. And that's what happened here. And one of my favorite sayings is the most compassionate people have the best boundaries. And that's because we need to have boundaries around our compassion and our empathy in order to continue to be compassionate and empathic. And Lauren just doesn't seem to have those boundaries yet. And what may happen, or what may have happened if Dave had allowed it, is that she would continue to be compassionate toward him, put herself in his shoes, and oh, poor Dave, and oh, you were struggling, to the point that she'd feel resentful. And she was getting there. And so I think this is good that Dave essentially forced her hand. But yeah, this is definitely a good depiction of empathy without boundaries. And that can be really, really bad. So there is another piece of their relationship post breakup. And that kind of goes down at the party. I think the party is a good focal point for, it was really the only entertainment in the show. But I want to move us to the party and specifically start us off with the Molly interaction with Lauren and then later with Dave.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the Dave Lauren situation is kind of the central focus and narration of the party. Sure, we get a little bit from other people and a little bit with Mason and Madison and Meg and all that other stuff, but like not really, right? Everything's really focused around this Dave Lauren narrative. Molly comes in and has a conversation with Lauren. They became buddy buddy in the pods. Cool, whatever. Lauren relays her side of the story to Molly. And here's the frustrating thing, right? Is that Molly makes the exact same mistake Lauren makes. She has bought into the entire narrative that Dave has sold. That is all a lie, right? Is
well,
not
that's
the real
easy
problem.
to do when you're hearing it from a biased source.
No, absolutely. But at the end of the day, what this also shows, though, is that Molly also is very unaware because, again, any guy who hears this story knows that Dave is completely full of shit and that it is all a lie. And the fact that now we have two women who both have bought into this, and then what does Molly want to go do? She wants to go and confront Dave. First off, not really your place. I get it. Production is pushing you there. Production is trying to gin up some entertainment here. And then Molly, who, by the way, is clearly very drunk in this scene, is now trying to fight with Dave, just regurgitating exactly the same lines that Lauren was fighting about. And this was so exhausting because it was like, we just swapped out Lauren for Molly. It was the same conversation. We just swapped the one of the parties out. And again, it was just continually demonstrating like that she just doesn't get it. And as a man watching this show, it was just getting very exhausting because at some point in time, production really should have sent somebody like Devin over the girls and been like, oh, ladies, yeah, this is what actually is happening. So that maybe like
they would never.
We could have like changed the narrative a little bit. All right. Now attack Dave confront him on what was really happening right in his mind. And that would have been really interesting. But like who maybe you could have brought in like an Alex or a Mason, somebody from outside, and that would have, that could have been kind of the outside shot into it. Like that would have been a great, fascinating way to sort of spin this and have a little bit more of a real conversation. But there was none of that. And that's what I found really frustrating and disappointing with this interaction.
Well, if we were to take it at face value, one of the things that Molly hit on that also Lauren and Dave had talked about is Dave's tendency to pull away when he gets close in a relationship. And we're seeing some demonstration of maybe an avoidant attachment style. And so that's what Molly is essentially saying. You told me in the pods that this is something that you do. And I wonder if that is what is happening right now, that you're essentially sabotaging this because it's getting real or you really care about this person. And again, this has been a repetitive thing that Dave has talked about with these two women. And so that was the one kernel of wisdom that I thought was good for Molly to share in terms of holding a mirror up to Dave and saying like, this is what I think you're doing. I'm calling you out on this, whether that sticks or not, whether that's true, like really underlying. I know what you're saying is part of what the real problem is for Dave, but maybe part of why it's such a real problem is because of really not wanting to be close to somebody in this way.
So I hear what you're saying, and this is why I don't buy that narrative. Dave is not unaware. Holding a mirror up to Dave is not the problem. Dave knows exactly what he's doing. This is not subconscious. This is conscious. So sitting there saying, hey, I think you're doing this thing where you pull away. Dave's thinking in his head, yeah, no. This isn't me when I'm normally pulling away when I get close. This is me actively making a choice that I am not in and trying to save my edit. So
it's not a defense memechanism.
This is not a defense mechanism. This isn't
conscious.
This is a conscious effort that he is making. You don't go out, you don't refuse to introduce your fiance to your entire family and friend structure and then go out with those friends and stay out with your phone off until 2 p.m. the next day and then show up like nothing had happened. Like these are not behaviors of somebody who is subconsciously pulling away. These are and then his just general lies that he tells on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I do. I take your point. What do you make of this like drunken like maybe I made a mistake?
Oh, this is all a game. It's all bullshit.
Okay.
It's 100%. Because here's the thing. This is again more classic guy BS, right? At no point in time does he actually open the window to them getting back together? He's saying, oh, you're the best, and I can't picture myself with anybody but you, and I think you're everything I've ever wanted, and a bunch of other quotes like that. It just sucks that we can't be together. And it just sucks that I'm just not in a place that can really do it. It's all me. It's not you. It's like you're trying to shower her with compliments, telling her how great she is, while at the same time leaving no possibility that even the door is still, even a crack open. Well, why is he doing that? One, he's doing it to protect his image. He's trying to get credit for taking blame for everything, but also, get the credit for being complimentary and trying to do it as a good guy. It's just, it's all fake. It's all phony. He was drunk, so he executed that even worse than he executes when he's sober. It just wasn't. If he had demonstrated it at any point in time in this show that he actually was genuine and honest at any point in time, then maybe I would say, okay, get a little drunk and maybe we're getting some truth here. But we haven't seen any honesty from Dave at any point in time. So like, what do they say? The getting drunk brings out the true you, right? Do we think that there's a true honest person in Dave? Probably not. It looks to me like the drunkenness is just bringing out the bigger liar.
I'm done talking about Dave. I feel like we've done enough on Dave. I just want to do one quick, again, popping out into the internet world about this situation, Dave, Lauren, and this mystery friends with benefits situation. So Lauren's whole thing has been like, I think he just wants to be on TV, this friends with benefits guy. Yeah. What he has done, this friends with benefits guy, since all of this drama has gone down, is he's engaged actively on it on social media. He's made his photoshopped himself into a Love is Blind like poster, and like he's become, and he contacted a couple of podcasts that I listen to saying, if you want me to come on, I'll come on. And so like,
how thirsty can you be?
So it's like we get what you're doing. Number one. The other thing, I don't really want to talk about Dave some more,
but it's not about the guy anyways. This is not about the guy. He's just he's no different than Matthew.
None of it really mattered. I know. But anyway, just wanted to throw that tidbit in. But while I
did not know that, but it's not surprising either.
While we're in sort of like the party talk of it all, what other things from the party like stuck out to you?
I have not been a fan of Madison from day one. I made some very strong predictions about her. I feel like vindication is coming my way with the way she was portrayed in this particular episode. She came across as angry and bitter. She's clearly not over, the Mason pod situation and rejection. And that's fine. I understand that. But she's one who needs to be the center of attention. I'm not buying the whole like, oh, everybody just, it's all about my looks and all about, that's what people see. And then they ignore me for who I am. But meanwhile, she's the one who can't stop talking about how hot she thinks she is. Right. And every time she gets an opportunity to be the center of attention, she puts herself in the center of attention. So I'm not a fan of Madison's. I don't think she was additive here. I think they were hoping that she could gin something up, but she couldn't get anything going here. And I thought she was probably the one who was most likely to. So not much else to say about Madison.
No, I agree. I don't really have much else to add.
We already talked about Molly. She was just basically drunk. The only thing we got from her was kind of the two drunken conversations with Lauren and Dave. Otherwise, kind of a non-factor in this party.
There's really not a whole lot to talk about in general, as you've been saying this whole time. The only real notable thing is that we see Meg and Mason and understand that they are now dating, maybe, or, friends, etc. I don't know. But they connected shortly after, getting out of the pods and seem to be, trying things out. And they have a better shot because they're not, dating with the pressure of, are you going to get married in a couple of weeks? So we'll see what happens with them.
Sure. But again, following the theme of everybody looks bad this episode, Meg, we gave her an applause basically because of the way that she stood up for herself. And then she basically says, oh, just kidding. The second I get my phone back, what do? Go to the guy that I just said I can never trust you. It's like, well, what?
I know.
You might as well gotten a free vacation out of it. Like, I don't understand, like,
Relatable.
yeah,
I
the
think
complete
Madison
lack of,
got in her head,
sure,
and
yeah,
then I think that was a part of it.
a little time away. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get that. But Meg is one who has a personality that is pretty big and a little chaotic, right? And I don't. I think they leaned right into that narrative for her, right? Where, like, you really just don't know what you're gonna get with her. It might be fun and crazy and exciting, or it might just be crazy, right? But look, she's a, there's something endearing about her, and there's something fun and interesting about her, to the point where I really kind of wish that she was part of the couples that got to go to
Mhm.
Honduras and was moving forward. Because at least I think when she's on the screen, there's something engaging and fun to at least
Agreed.
watch, right?
Yeah.
So I miss that, but I don't necessarily think she got a great edit by basically backtracking on everything she just said that we were all applauding her for. And Mason, he just comes across looking shallow, which is kind of what we already thought about him anyways. So we're just doubling down on a negative narrative for him. So that's really, I think, nothing really interesting happened in this party. I don't care about any of these narratives. There's just no setup and there's no payoff for us. So I just
I
don't have
agree.
anything more.
All right, let's move over to Ben and Sarah.
Yeah, so we meet her sister that we've heard a lot about. We hear a lot about sisters on this season, and her sister's girlfriend. Then there's some events later on in the episode, like her and Ben go glamping, and a few other things. We actually will end up ending episode 12 at the cliffhanger with them at the altar. So we get a lot of conversations with her family in the preparation for the wedding, and we'll get a wedding dress try on whole situation, picking the wedding dress situation. The sister and the girlfriend, it did not feel like they were there for Sarah. It felt like they were there to get on TV and to push their narrative. They were pretty hostile and not really open to Ben or the experiment.
Or Sarah.
Or Sarah. Sarah, this was a moment where, I mean, it felt like Sarah was just capitulating to whatever their feelings were.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
this is a great example of people who are so detached from their own awareness that they talk about equality, they talk about being kind to people, they talk about being tolerant. Meanwhile, these three, Sarah, the sister, and the girlfriend, are three of the least tolerant, most hostile people that we've seen this entire season. Probably the three worst. These are people that have no interest in actually learning about other people or listening to other people. They've got their narrative and they want to just charge forth on their narrative. And so it's just kind of like, you're not
Mhm.
here for the show. You're not here for the experiment. You're not here to meet Ben. You're here to just push your narrative, and production kind of agrees with you, and that's their agenda. So they're just throwing you on here and giving you time. But this was another scene that went on for like 12 minutes, 13
Mhm.
minutes. It's like, it just was too much.
The virtue signaling that is going on this season, particularly in terms of Sarah's narrative, is it's a lot. Like it feels like forced down my throat as a viewer. And this is not to say that I agree or disagree with what they're saying. It's just so heavy handed that makes it hard to watch. I want to come to my own opinions basically about what I'm seeing, not like what I'm being told I should be thinking and feeling. Anyway, one thing that I found particularly like frustrating to listen to was when Sarah's sister's girlfriend partner was kind of talking about the lack of understanding from the church, or assuming Ben's church, or assuming Ben, and that it's something that like they don't have any awareness of, and so therefore they are like getting rejected by these like set of beliefs, and feeling like that was wrong, that you should accept, well, she didn't like that word, but that you should kind of love everybody, no matter what, no matter if you could understand it or not. And then a few minutes later, when Ben and Sarah are talking about their meeting on the experiment, and and Sarah's saying like, "Can I have your blessing?" And they like are really frustrated by that comment. And the sister said, well, it's hard to buy into something that you don't experience. And we don't understand like why you would do this. And it was just like such a clear contradiction from what she had said before. And it was just kind of like, it just felt very hypocritical, and again showed maybe a lack of awareness. And I really felt for Sarah in that moment because she is so trying to do the right thing. She is so eager to please and eager to appease, and we see like some insecurity and anxiety come up through this conversation that she's having with her sister and her sister's partner. And that told me a lot about Sarah, just and illuminated even more how maybe shaky some of her beliefs and values were. That she referred to herself as socially liberal but fiscally conservative, and then the sister, etc., were kind of criticizing that, and it was like apologetic, using the word acceptance, and feeling like, oh no, I got it wrong, I offended you, I'm so sorry. Like it was so there's again to my earlier point, there's a way to be empathic to people, and then there's an abandonment of self that happens in an effort to be overly empathic. And that was what I was feeling what was going on with Sarah.
Yes, so there's a lot there to respond to, but what I would say is I have friends who are very far to the left on the political spectrum, and I can tell you that in conversations with them, many of them were very, very frustrated and annoyed with this scene in particular, because the feelings were, this is a horrible look for progressivism and a horrible look for people that are a little bit further along on the liberal spectrum, because it really just demonstrated a massive amount of intolerance, hypocrisy, and hate, and a completely misunderstanding and a caricaturization of things like religion. They do not know anything about religion, and it's obvious and clear. They can say that they were raised whatever they want, but it's very clear that they do not understand Christianity. They don't understand the beliefs. They've been kind of fed this narrative by the far left extreme, and that's what they're just buying into and believing. We see the same thing with Virginia later, but it's like, you need to, if you're going to hold these strong opinions and you're going to go on national TV and state these opinions, you should probably like educate yourself a little bit. And again, we've talked about time. We're not religious. I got no stake in the religious game, but what I am is somebody who is curious enough to educate myself and learn a little bit and talk to various different religious people, and not just some random person who goes to church every once in a while. Read a couple books, read some scriptures, and then formulate your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's so far beyond the intellectual capacity of these three women. And
Yeah.
sadly, Ben doesn't escape this either. Ben is maybe the worst representative of religion I have ever seen on TV. He doesn't know the first thing about his own religion. He's just going to church because that's what he does. His inability to answer some very basic questions that Sarah has, his inability to address certain concerns, and his willingness to just absolutely capitulate on
Mm-hmm.
everything is, you said that Sarah, you feel like she has some shaky foundation on what her values are. Ben is right there with her.
Yeah.
Right there with her. And his church, now again, I'm not going to go and critique churches. I don't go to enough of them, but I would say that didn't seem like the service that I would have probably tried to introduce somebody to religion with.
I
Not an
agree.
exciting, right? Not. I mean, there are some great orators within the religious world. There are some great, people who are not priests or pastors or whatever, that you could just pull up on YouTube, and they can talk about things at a level that's really engaging, interesting, that will make you think. That's probably where I would have started if I were Ben. But like, I don't even think Ben has that awareness. I think church is just a place that he's going because that's what he was brought up doing. But it's clear that even he doesn't really understand his own religion. So this was a bad look. Again, what's the theme? Bad look for everybody.
Yeah.
And what did we learn about them as a couple? We learned that, one, they're attracted to one another. Two, they're both kind of being people pleasers. They can't make it as a couple. They don't share values because they don't even know what their values are. Right.
Yeah.
At least Lauren, like, I was critical of Lauren, saying she has no idea who she is as a person. She has no idea what she believes. She's basically just a chameleon turning into whatever she needs to be in the moment. Right. Like, these two are a little are like subtle versions of that. At least Lauren is a little bit in her presentation is a little bit honest about it, right? She may not be aware of the fact that she doesn't understand her own values and principles, but like when you meet her, you know that that's who she is. Ben and Sarah present as if they are people that know their values and know their principles and know the ethics by which they want to live by. And then you get introduced to them further and you meet them and you realize, oh, not at all. And so how can two people like this actually get into meaningful long-term relationships that can work? It can only happen if they end up with people that are very strong in their beliefs, right? Because what will happen is the other person will be really strong in their beliefs and they will tether to that person, and that person will sort of drag them, towards their side. You see this very often with people that are sort of middle of the road moderates who are a little bit malleable, don't really know what they believe, and they might, find somebody that is further on the spectrum, either right or left, and that person in the center will naturally get dragged. And this is a really common thing. It's not necessarily even a bad thing, right? We all care about what we care about and make changes and stuff like that. But these two, neither one of them is strong. Who's dragging who? Where are they going?
Well, and I think that's the kind of the danger with this couple is like it's so much lip service and no real action to follow it up. And yeah, to your point, like they won't know until they're there, and that's not the way to enter into a marriage when they really just don't fundamentally know who they are yet. They think they do. I think they think they do, but they really don't.
Do you want to move over to Devin and Virginia?
Yeah, let's do it.
We've already talked about prenups. We like the conversations that they force you to have, and it's not necessarily about actually signing the prenup. It's about the conversations. If you can get through the negotiation of a prenup with no fights, then you know that you guys are solid, and the prenup kind of becomes meaningless at that point. That's why we like them. Now, ultimately, she does present him with the prenup, and he ultimately decides to sign it. I have a lot of thoughts about this. I think him signing this is a clear indication to me that he is not marrying her.
I agree. I 100% agree. I also think there's something off between them. There's been something off between them for episodes. I think the way she presented it to him, to your point about it being unilateral, indicates that she's not getting married either. And him signing it absolutely for me was like, oh, okay, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Further demonstrated by their conversation in bed where she was picking a fight, essentially. She was finding a reason. She just kept pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing.
What Devin does here, I really appreciate. And that is he takes his time. He's cautious. He thinks before he answers. You could say it feels a little disingenuous because he's aware of the cameras and he's trying not to say anything bad or anything that's going to get him canceled or anything that's going to make him get a bad edit. But at the same time, there's also a lot of maturity in thinking before you speak. There's a lot of wisdom in thinking before you speak. And at no point in time, unlike Ben, did he really back down from his principles, right?
Well, I even mean before they even got into the conversation about women's rights and abortion and whatnot. But she was just like, what do you want to ask me? Ask me things. Ask me the hard questions. Ask me, what is it that you want to know? And it was like, okay, you're poking around for something. And then, well, what about politics? We should talk about politics. And that this should have been a conversation that happened in the pods, number one. But yes. And then when they started having this dialogue about abortion rights and, she had her stance, which is completely fine, and he had his, which is completely fine, but again, they're not going to be compatible, and you saw them see that as this conversation was going on, like, and I think she was trying to get, I don't even think she was trying to get him on her side, so to speak. I think that she was just trying to demonstrate, no, I'm right and you're wrong, and it just gave a good idea of what conflict is going to look like in their relationship, which is going to be very, very unproductive. We had talked about this in maybe one of the earlier recap podcasts about Sarah and Ben and people having two differing political views. And it seems to come back again, where I think Devin was saying essentially like, I don't necessarily vote with a particular party. I let my faith and my values guide my my vote. And, you know, Virginia said the same, but her faith and values leads her to vote Democrat. And then, you know, she said, you know, there aren't many Black conservatives. And, you know, and he had said, well, my dad's Black. And so, like, you could see again there this in our conversation from episodes ago, we were saying, like, it is possible, of course, to be married to someone who holds different political beliefs than you. But obviously there are caveats to that and nuance to that. And in the way that this just went down, you saw that this would not be a couple that could hold different political beliefs and remain in a happy and healthy marriage, just in the way that small exchange went.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay, so I think it's time to get into Joey and Monica. Not a ton to say here. They're still a fun, cute couple. They're engaging and entertaining. I think there was one interesting scene with respect to their communication style when they have their last date. And they made them sit on rocks, which we can get to that in a second. But really, they open up this part of the episode where the sister is doing a photo shoot for them. Apparently, the sister's a photographer, and the sister, is going to kind of be confronted about what she said. She's going to completely capitulate and say that, you know, Joey's actually a wonderful person.
Right. I just think your energies didn't match, and, you know, we like to nap and you're too energized, which I thought was hilarious. By the way, as a reason.
Well, I got stuff to say about
as a fellow napper, married to an energetic person.
Yeah, I mean, if that doesn't match us, I don't know what does. But the whole thing's absurd. Look, every part of this felt performative. The sister's reasoning and sort of defense of her own previous behavior came across like Dave, right? It's like, that's the story you're going with? That's what you're hanging your hat on? Like, really? You don't have anything better? And can't sell it, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, not a whole lot to say here. It was just like very, very, again, hypocritical. She's confronting Joey and saying that her concern was that he was performative. Meanwhile, here she is being so fake. But anyway, that gets resolved. They hug it out. All is good. Again, not a whole lot to see here.
Nope. I think the interesting part from a couple's perspective of Monica and Joey is when they do their final date. Monica is giving us a narration that she wants more PDA but doesn't want PDA. She brings it up a little bit. And Joey's great. Joey is so great in that he listens, he hears, he gives a response that indicates that he will do his best to accommodate and change. And then you see him take action on these types of things. So I love their communication. I love that they could sit there and talk. I love that they felt comfortable addressing it with one another. My problem is I want them to love each other. I want them to get married, and I want them to have wonderful lives together. But I'm not really necessarily seeing a romantic connection.
I think they're really good friends.
Here's the thing, okay? These two would be perfect in the old world, meaning in an arranged marriage. Mm-hmm. Because back in the old days where, arranged marriages were the primary thing, where it's like,
you didn't marry for love.
You understand that you marry, that love are the actions you choose to love. And you go, and people who love you go and find you a partner that they know is going to take care of you. And it's your responsibility now to engage in the acts of love. And over time, you will grow to romantically love and care for this person, because it's the whole, act as if sort of thing, right? And there's a great, for those who have ever watched the play Fiddler on the Roof, there's a whole section of that play about, do you love me? And they talk about how it's been 30 years together, and that all the things we've done together, like, yeah, I do really, truly love you after all this time, even though I didn't know you when we got married. Monica and Joey are that couple. They're the couple that would be wonderful together as a couple, and they would grow to love each other. But in the new world where it's all about feelings and not about action, I don't know that they can get there, right? And that's frustrating, because I actually think that they are the type of people that should be in a relationship together, would balance each other out really well, and would go on to have a wonderful life together. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's we're not in the old world though. So I don't see it going much further.
Do you think your parents would have set us up together?
No.
No, they wanted your brother's friend Joe. I know that.
Yeah.
That was
They
that was
wanted
their leading candidate.
a different type of man for me. They don't
What are you
know me
trying to
very
say?
well in that sense, I guess.
Are you trying to say that I'm because I'm not a plumber?
Not a nice guy. No, not that you're not nice, but you're not like the nice guy, you know?
I don't think your dad would have wanted you with a nice guy. I don't think that's what he wanted.
Hmm.
He wants you with a provider who's going to treat you well and with respect. Um, but I would have, my soft hands, as he likes to remind me, would have definitely hurt my chances. Yeah.
First handshake and you're out.
Hey, listen, I practice my handshake a lot. I have a great handshake.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm
there's
not
no
sure that was,
calluses on his hands.
there are not, I got one, I got my cooking knife callus, right there. Nice
No,
from
it's
all the
from
years of
like
chopping.
hammering and nailing.
Yeah, no, I don't have those calluses, All right, Daniel and Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if these two don't get married, I've lost all
There's
faith in
no
love.
hope for humanity if these two don't get married. Yeah. Look, they are wonderful, sweet, kind to one another. Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say? Daniel is all in. I mean, I said all along, Daniel's saying yes. There's no chance that he is saying no.
Mhm.
That is off the table entirely. The only question is if Taylor says no, if she overthinks it, because she has a tendency to do that.
They
But
haven't had any drama. What is there to even overthink at this point?
yeah, zero drama. Wait, no, wait, wasn't there something?
Yeah, the Instagram thing.
The Instagram thing. What was the
The
Instagram thing?
Instagram follow.
Is that? Oh my God! Yeah,
But she
that
can't
is
even
this.
overthink it because she had actual data
Mhm.
to support the fact that he didn't do it. So like it's not even a thing that can like scratch her brain to
Yeah,
say like, "Oh, hey, this might be a thing." No, there's nothing. There's not anything. They looked under all the rocks. There's nothing
yep.
there.
He's literally just perfect.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
great. He'd have to do a lot at this point for his whole narrative to change.
So Daniel and Taylor, we get some putt golf. That was cute, but so boring. They do their Christmas cards in March that they're going to use at the wedding.
They used
Cute.
I mean, who wants that as a favor, respectfully? But what was cute about it is they wore their reveal outfits for the Christmas card. That was cute.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look, there's not much to say. They're getting married.
We wish you
They're
well.
cute. We wish you
We hope
well.
you're still married.
I'm
It'll be
all
your
in.
anniversary coming up soon.
Yep.
Congratulations to you.
You are boring people. I don't have any interest in seeing a
I don't know
sequel
that
with
they're
you, but
boring
I am
people. They're
super
boring
hopeful.
TV.
I'm sorry. Fair. That is fair. They are boring TV. I don't want to see a sequel. I don't even need to see your wedding. And quite frankly, don't bother showing up to the what's after
Reunion.
the final rose version reunion. Don't even bother showing up to the reunion.
No, we're gonna get all the Christmas
you got nothing
pics
to
from the
offer.
first Christmas together. We're gonna get it all. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
None of that is interesting.
All right. So it seems like we are pretty gung ho that Taylor and Daniel get married, right?
100%.
100%. Okay. Who do we think? Like, let's go through the fate of these other remaining couples. So, starting,
Yes.
obviously, Dave and Lauren are out. Next up, we have Ben and Sarah. We get left on a cliffhanger. What do you think happens? Oh, and we are spoiler free, by the way. We have no idea.
Yes.
So please don't spoil us in the comments.
Yeah. So I would suspect that Ben is dumb enough to say yes. And I think so. Let's put him at like a 90% yes. I think Sarah is dumb enough to say yes as well, but not as dumb as Ben. So let's say that she's like a 60%, right? So, basically, 90% times 60%, 54% chance. Okay, that's what I got for Ben and Sarah. 54%.
Interesting. Well, so the way that they're setting it up, they have Sarah go first, apparently. I mean, she could say, like, actually, Ben, I want you to answer first. But the way that we see it, Sarah answers first, which makes me think, does she say yes and he says no? One of them says no, but you think it's Sarah that says no.
Yeah, I mean, Ben just hasn't given any indication that he's not a simp, right? and he's so malleable, whereas Sarah, she's less malleable than him, and she's also been the
They're
one
just
who's been
showing
drawing.
us like her anxious,
Yeah.
overthinking self too. That'd be too much of a tell for them to
Yeah.
show us that and her say no.
Yeah, and also anytime a woman says no and and the man says yes and the woman says no, Hollywood takes this as a subversion of expectations. And they love to subvert expectations where the woman looks more empowered. That's like Hollywood's thing. That's why we're getting all these female 90-pound superheroes lately, right? It's supposed to be a subversion of all that. So I think that that's what they're leaning into here. So yeah, I'm saying 54% chance that we get to a yes from both of them, but I think it's far more likely that the no comes from Sarah.
Okay. Next up, we have Devin and Virginia.
I mean, I think this is almost certainly a dead no. I think if Devin came in and completely capitulated, to everything that everything that Virginia was asking for, and like promised to like vote the way, and support all of her causes, that she would get to a yes,
No,
but
I think
Devin's not
she's
doing
more
that.
out than he is. I think
Oh,
she's
you
been
think
more
so?
out on him since nearly the beginning.
Oh, yeah. See, look, I've said from the very beginning, I don't think there's any chemistry here, so I think they're both a no. But I think that she's more likely to get to a yes than he is. I think he is definitely below
I think he's
25%.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I would say with almost certainty that they are asymptotically close to 0%.
Yeah. I have no confidence that either says yes in this moment.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Next.
Joey and Monica.
This is a tough one. Joey really threw me for a loop with his whole. I told her that I will be 100% in my decision. I won't know what that decision is until the wedding day. Now, production obviously tells them you have to build suspense. So you have to say stuff like that. But that right there is maybe a bridge a little bit too far and maybe a little bit too revealing that he's a no.
I think he's a no.
Yeah. I think that Monica
I think he's
is.
icked out by Monica.
You think so? Why?
Yeah. Ever since the sock bin.
You might be projecting there. You might be projecting. I gotta say, every time I see Monica, I am more of a fan, and I find her more attractive, both personality and physically,
Yeah.
every time she's on screen. Like there's
She's just
something
a
about
light.
her. She is a delight to be with. She's cute, right? And she's just that personality is just like very like light and fun to be around. Her sister saying we're low energy. It's like, have you met your sister?
She
Like
didn't say
that's not
low energy. She said we like to nap.
sure. Yeah. She naps often to build up the energy to be the Monica that we have seen on screen. That's what it is, right? So yeah, I'm a fan. I don't see him being icked out. I don't see that.
Maybe he's just too much of a friend. Doesn't
Yeah,
see
I
her
don't
romantically.
know. But this is tough because this is the one I really I'm biased here because like I really want them to get married, but I like maybe 65%.
I,
Yeah.
I'm a no. I think the only couple that gets married, I think, is Taylor and Daniel. I can't see any of the others saying yes. It would shock me if any of the others. Okay, so we will be back next week with the answers to our predictions. We'll learn a little bit more. And so we'll see you then. If you are watching Grant Ellis's season of The Bachelor, we will also be back next week with Hometowns, the hometown week of Grant's season. And in the meantime, if you want to also follow along with us on Instagram, you can follow us at Reactivity TV. You can follow me at Amy Albero LCSW. Send us your emails to reactivitytv@revivecfw.com and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. We'll see you soon. Bye.
See ya.